This is on, so it's... +30 degrees Celsius, that's all I can feel. But 30+ racing cars, that's what you will be able to see and most definitely hear. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, in Slovakia, just outside the country's capital of Bratislava, here at the Slovakia Ring. It is time for the penultimate round of the 2023 season of the ESET Cup Series, and with that, currently, right now, the endurance race, 1 hour long race of mixed classes, mixed categories, so many cars and drivers sharing the duties at the wheel of their respective specials. And you know what? It's going to be quite a special occasion because we have got 38 cars, no less, on the starting grid. We've already seen what that does in a GT sprint. Now, let's just look forward to what this does in the endurance race. We have got 2 Le Mans prototypes sharing the front row. They are the LMP3 Ligiers, the black one, and of course, here, the very well-known yellow one of the ARC Bratislava. But the local hero, Miro Konopka, was actually beaten to pole position by the Czech driver Dan Skojdopole, who is lining up on the front row of the grid. Let's just see if we can get at least a couple of words from Dan. If that is okay, we're going to have to go the other way around. Hi. Dan, hi. Is it okay if we have a couple of words in English? Cool. Okay, so you've won the GT sprint earlier on, and now you're sat on pole position for the endurance. It's more than twice as long, but you must be enjoying yourselves here in your beautiful Ligier around this track.
It's fun. It's definitely fun, but in this weather it's challenging. It is. I mean, you got 32 degrees and in the car it's even more hot, so it ain't easy, but racing a race is it.
How hot is it in your cockpit?
Too hot to describe.
Okay.
I'm boiling.
Yeah, okay. Have fun and enjoy yourselves. It's going to be a long race, I'm sure, and let's hope we have a good battles with Miro Konopka. Best of luck. So that's Dan Skojdopole on pole position, alongside him, of course, and we can't leave him out, especially on this occasion, because it is the home race for the ARC Bratislava. And just look at the ensemble around the car. So many fans come here to this track, and they are all really interested in this machine. Is it going to win? Is it going to put on a good show? And we have got Miro Konopka sat behind the wheel. Yeah, let's go from this side once again. And let's just see if we can squeeze in somehow and maybe get a few words, if we may, disturb everybody right now on the grid. I'm very sorry. I am seriously sorry. Can we just make at least 1 or 2 words with our favorite local hero, Miro Konopka, on the front row? It was a bit difficult for you in the sprint, but now you're on the front row with Dan Skojdopole. What can we expect from you on your home track?
We will see. All is open. It's 1 hour. It's very hot. I think Dan is really 19 years old. It's a very big difference between us. He is quick, but for me, he's a nice race, and we will see.
What is the bigger challenge, the other LMP car or the heat in your cockpit?
Hard question. We will see. I don't know answer for this moment.
Okay, have fun, Miro, have fun. Good stuff, good stuff. So that's the LMP prototypes on your front row. Let's move a little bit further to the series standings leader, so to say. The man who's been leading since the start of the season, and it's fairly unbeatable in 2023, if we may just have a couple of words. He is... there he is, sorry. I was just... Philip.
Yeah, I'm resting outside.
Yeah, you're resting outside, yeah. I was trying to find you in the car, but you've got a little bit more time, and the weather is nice. I assume it's incredibly hot inside the cockpit, but you've had, again, a very good run. Maybe a little bit more opposition as we saw in the sprint, but what can we be expected from this long and very hot, still very hot to this hour, endurance race?
Yeah, we have to be careful with the tires, because in the sprint I had a little bit of problem with the rear tires, so we have to be really careful. Because then when I was trying to catch the Lambo, I think I overheat the rear tires. So now I have to be more careful, and we'll see what's happened. Hopefully we stay out of trouble and we stay at front.
You've been quite dominant this season, but we saw in the sprint that there are some really quick drivers around for this weekend. So what is the bigger challenge? Is it the opposition or is it the sun?
I think it's a lot of competition here, and I think it's the most difficult race for us. So we have to keep concentrate, and it will be a nice race. Hopefully, sun is okay.
Philip, thank you so much. Enjoy yourselves in this race, and yeah, have fun. Have a good one.
Thank you very much.
Alongside, it's Polish Olymp Racing, and we're so happy to see them back on the grid. They were the dominant force of the past, and we saw Marcin Jedlinski actually taking the overall title in the previous years, but now it is his dad Stanislav who's here with his 488 Ferrari. Let's just see if we can maybe have a couple of words with Stanislav.
He's focused, so
he's focused.
Probably not.
Okay, but you're gonna be sharing the car with him. How are you prepared for this race? And actually, it's incredibly hot. So in that case, it's going to be maybe even longer than it usually is, 1 hour. What are your expectations from this race?
We have AC conditions, so we are, we are safe.
Cool. I was just asking pretty much everybody, in this heat, who's the bigger competitor? Is it the other car or is it the sun?
The sun, for sure.
Sun, for sure. Okay. Have a cool race, guys. You look cool. Yeah, stay cool. And because it's quite a long way all the way to the back of the grid, 38 cars as I mentioned, we don't really have time to interview everybody, but the race is definitely going to be interesting. As I said, 38 cars, so there's bound to be quite a lot of interesting action. Let's just go and look forward to that. Let's watch it. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I now have precisely good idea why this is called a motor sport. I've just had a quite nice jog from the grid all the way to the broadcasting van, just as the drivers are now setting off for their formation lap. And I know I've been mentioning it maybe quite too often for your liking, but this is a very important topic now and very important theme of the race, and it's the heat, because it's already evening, it's already 6 p.m, but it's still around 30 degrees Celsius. So really everybody's sweating. You can't really stay dry anywhere, and just imagine how hot it is inside the cars, which are now on the track. Everybody's left the grid successfully, and everybody's now getting prepared. Even in this heat, however, you still have to use the formation lap to put heat into the tires, to put heat into the brakes, so that everything is absolutely ready and on perfect operating temperatures, just as the lights go green and you're sent towards, or flying towards, that first corner, because it is a pretty heavy braking spot, but you need to stay on it. You need to be as late on the brakes as possible, but they have to be ready. You can't lock up, otherwise you're then in for a pile-up. And you've got to take that first corner as fast as you can, because, of course, that's where you can always win and lose quite a lot at the start of the race. Despite that, we always say, you know, it's a long race. You can't win it in the first corner. You can definitely lose it in the first corner. So that's what nobody wants, but that's what sometimes happens to pretty much everyone, irrespective of their experience. So 5,922 meters, that's the length of the circuit. So it's one of the longer tracks on the calendar. We've already done 4 endurance races this season, of course. We started the season in April at Oschersleben in Germany. Then we did the race in Hungary. After that, Austria's Red Bull Ring. And most recently, of course, 2 weeks back, Autodrom Most in the Czech Republic. What is, of course, important is not only the order on the grid, but also the situation in the championship, because Filip Salaquarda is still yet to be beaten in the GT3 class. So, is he going to score 5 out of 5? What is going to happen? As I mentioned, 38 cars on the grid. We had 35 for the sprint earlier on, and if you remember, it was incredibly eventful. So let's just see what happens in this one. It's definitely bound to be a very, very interesting one. We have got 2 prototypes on the front row together. It's the teams Breton and EAC Bratislava, of course, with Dan Skočdopole and Miro Konopka. Behind them, it's already GT3s. It's ISR Racing's Filip Salaquarda, and then Stanislav Jedlinski in his Ferrari 488. With Christian Kořeňovský ready to jump in at the pit stop. We also have Stoffy Rosina in the M4, BMW alongside him, Good Speed Racing's Mercedes AMG GT3, and we are away here in Slovakia. The endurance race is go, go, go. Into the first corner we go. Miro Konopka losing places, as is quite usual for him, but he's always good at building back up and getting the positions back. But in the sprint earlier on, it was where Dan Skočdopole actually gained the key advantage and then won by over 20 seconds. What is going to happen in this race? We are about to see. There is Miro Konopka losing places at the start, and he was quite wide with his Ligier exiting the second corner, which is always the tricky one. Also on the front, also on the opening lap. This is Libor Milota in his AMG GT3 Mercedes. He's currently trailing the Porsche 911, driven by his German rival, Nicola Leutwiller. And Libor Milota, he definitely wants to focus on the fight towards the front, but he has to watch his rearview mirrors as well, because Miro Konopka is on the move and he is going through. For some reason, the Duck Racing's Audi R8 is now at the back of the field with quite a big gap to everyone else, so there must have been a problem for the R8 Audi. But it is moving, it is in the race. as are the other cars in lots of other categories. We've got so many cars on track in really various different classes. So this is the R8 Audi of Filip Salaquarda. Behind him it is already Stoffel Rosina in the M4 GT3. He is sharing the duties here in Slovakia with the Daytona 24 winner, no less, Jesse Krohn. The Finnish driver also taking part in or taking turns at the wheel of Trevor Racing's team, and Filip Salaquarda is slowing down. What is going on for the ISR Audi R8? The dominant force of the season is slowing right down on the start and finish straight. We just talked to Filip Salaquarda and we mentioned that the heat is going to put on an extra challenge on everyone, on their cars, on their machinery, on their tires, on their brakes, but also cooling of the engine, cooling of everything else that is vital for the life of a racing car. And Filip Salaquarda is now dramatically slowing down, so both R8 Audis actually in trouble in the opening minutes of the endurance race. And is this going to kill the dominant row of victories of ISR Racing this season or not? What is happening there? But we do not see the R8 Audi still at full speed. It's still just crawling around the track, and that is of course a big trouble. There is Libor Milota. So let's just see the proceedings. Dan Skojdopole leading from Filip Salaquarda. That's no longer the case. Live timing needs to be updated quite soon. So it is Dan Skojdopole leading from Stoffel Rosina currently, who's taking over the lead in the GT3 class from Nicolas Leutwiler, and Miro Konopka right behind, already also getting through and having already got through. There is Leutwiler with Libor Milota right behind him, which only tells you that Miro Konopka is already up ahead and through, and we saw that from the other camera. So the Dayglow yellow LMP3 Ligier is through up to third overall, second in the class. Of course, that has not changed since the start, but now Miro Konopka is about to start putting pressure on his countryman Stoffel Rosina. They are now making their way around the final corner here at this nearly 6-kilometer track and going back onto the start and finish straight. There is the fight for P2 overall, second place of course, with the Trevor Racing's M4 BMW heading the field right now in Slovakia at the team's home event, which is great for their partners, great for the team itself, great for the sponsors, great for Slovakia. So Stoffel Rosina leading here on his home soil. So we've done the first 5 minutes. What is that against the whole race distance? Well, quite nothing, I'm going to tell you, but still it's already been quite eventful 5 minutes. Let's also see what happens further down the field. Behind Libor Milota we have got Piotr Vera on his return to the series, having sat out the Czech round in Most. Jacek Zielonka in P7 overall, Petr Brecka in his GT Sports Technology Porsche, sharing the car as usual with Karel Neff. They are in P8 overall. Behind them Jakub Klobasa, who's starting the race for their Lambo, and he's going to be sharing it together with Denis Vasek. And there is Filip Salaquarda, the championship leader, already out of his car. We saw him out of the car quite late before the race started. You just saw that on the grid walk, that it sort of caught me out. I was expecting him already to be in the car and was still outside. And as much as he was last minute into the car, he's first minute out of it. And that's really very unfortunate for the Czech driver from Prague and the ISR Racing team, who's been the dominant force of the season. They can already have their coronation here in Slovakia, but with this result, the proceedings will probably need to go to the season finale in 3 weeks' time in the Czech Republic at their home track in Brno. Either way, if we keep looking further back, we've got Petr Lisa and Pavel Sovička together in the RTR Racing's KTM GTX. I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. Not Pavel Sovička this time out. I was immediately, it occurred to me that something's not quite right. It's actually Tomáš Miniberger, whom we also welcome back to the championship. We did have him in the class in the previous years. Tomáš Miniberger taking care of his team, coming back for the Slovakian round. Team boss is again together with us and sharing the driving duties with Petr Lisa, his experienced, so to say, pro driver in their GTX class, enjoying a successful racing weekend here. And then in P11, it's the Lamborghini Huracan driven by Kurt Wagner, who's sharing it together with Josef Záruba. There is the race leader, it's Dan Skočtopole, car number 3. He's still setting the fastest lap of the race. Well, he did so a couple of laps back in 158.3 on the previous tour, as he was overtaking quite a lot of back markers. His pace dropped to 201.6, but still he's enjoying over 10 seconds off a lead. Libor Milota, there he goes in his GT2 Motorsports, or sort of also to say Mirage Motorsports AMG GT3 Merc, last year's sprint champion. He's come to the paddock in Slovakia, as is quite usual, together with his family, and they are enjoying this wonderful weekend. 9 minutes. Ooh, and there's a car in the gravel trap in the distance. That was Lemmer Racing's GT4 Mercedes, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a pretty fast excursion through the gravel trap, and I believe that Merc is already out of the gravel and on the start and finish straight. Something's not quite... Ooh, and we've got more issues. This is Olymp Racing's Ferrari, also in the gravel trap, and this was actually in the first corner. Is there an oil spill? I would wonder, because that's 2 cars off the track within quite a short space and also time. Or is these 2 separate incidents? This is boiling hot. This is the KTM I was just talking about. Oh, this is not... I didn't really want to bring bad luck onto the team, but this is what's actually just now happened. You can see, yeah, you can see that vessel for the coolant and smoke pouring out of it. Only tell you that the engine's just overheated. And absolutely no wonder in this heat. I mean, yeah, after 10 minutes it's a bit too soon, but still, it's just incredibly hot. So we might see more and more technical issues all through the race, because the heat is not really going to go away anytime soon. It's going to get later, the sun is going down, but still, before it actually sinks beyond the horizon, it's not really going to get any much cooler than this. And so, for everyone involved, this is still going to be a very long and very hot race. So you've got to manage, that's the most important thing. And again, I know it's a 1-hour endurance race. There are way longer endurance races in the world, of course, up to 24 hours. But, so yeah, if you're new to watch ESET Cup Series, 1 hour might really not sound like a lot to you. When we talk about it, or reference to it as an endurance race, but still, it's more than twice as many minutes as we have for the GT Sprint, and doesn't matter if it's 1 hour or 24 of them, the car has to survive all of it. And some of the
machines already coming into trouble. We've lost the leading GT3 of Filip Salakvarda, and we're now losing the GTX KTM. Tomáš Miniberger already out of his car. We saw him just checking together with his team, with his mechanics, and with Petr Lisa was also standing by as well, checking the inside of that car and the steaming hot engine, but there's nothing really they can do about it right now, so the car is now retired. Dan Skoč-Topole leading from Stefan Rosina. So the Trevor Racing's BMW, oh, and it's no longer from Stefan Rosina, because Rosina has just been overtaken by Miro Konopka on the previous lap, which now brings Konopka up to second in his Ligier. We've got quite a lot of various cars on the track, also the 318 BMWs, we've got the, so to say, TCR field. Also towards the back. There is the GTC Lambo and someone's off. Somebody's off, or has been off. They've already presumably returned back onto the track, because we do not see anyone beached in the gravel there. This is the GTC Lamborghini Huracan in the colors of Mechanic Motorsport, one of the minis going really slowly. And when it comes to the minis, you'll always notice the whining sound as they go by. Very characteristic. There's the race leader, so far unchallenged. Dan Skoč-Topole, absolutely fine, enjoying more than 13 seconds of a lead in the lead. And he's just done 2 minutes, 0.8 tenths of a second. Miro Konopka up to second, so he's back where he was at the start after the opening quarter of an hour of the race. And let's just see what his speed does to the gap he has to the race leader. We then have Stefan Rosina leading the GT3 class. Of course, him sharing the car with Jesse Krohn. Libor Milota in second in GT3s, and Nicolas Leutwiller in third. And that means fifth overall behind. Leutwiller doing the race on his own, not sharing it with anyone else. Piotr Vera, he is. He's got Dan Arrow also written as the co-driver for the race weekend. We then have Jacek Zielonka in 7th overall, Petr Brecka in 8th. He's sharing with Karel Neff, both of them in the paddock as usual. Jakub Klobasa, he will hand the car over to Denis Vašek at the pit stop. And then we have got Kurt Wagner sharing the duties of the Mechanic Motorsports Lambo, whom we're currently watching, the car number 22. And with the Mechanic Motorsports machine will be shared by Kurt Wagner and Josef Záruba. For them, of course, it's a very important race as well, because they have been leading the standings when it comes to their class. The GTC, Kurt Wagner and Josef Záruba at 50 points so far, having won everything they entered. Basically not scoring points only at the season start at Oschersleben. They are actually fighting for the title together with Petr Brecka and Karel Neff, and they are 2 places further up front. So it is an important race for Michanek Motorsport as well. 2 Czech teams fighting it out together. Max Lamer in 11th from Adam Centner. Stanislav Jedlinsky down in 13th. We saw the 488 Ferrari in trouble earlier on, and from the second row on the grid, Stanislav Jedlinsky has dropped. That needs to be said, but still it's a long race. Dan Skalický in P14 in the Duck Racing's Audi R8. Then it is Mariusz Nierychlewski in 15th from Richard Vosic, Antal Žigo, Matěj Kosic, Amuno Pelete and Artur Rovinsky completing the top 20. Behind them Viktor Mraz driving together with driving together with so let me just check very quickly with Matěj Homola. And Filip Zagorský, Přemyslav Silsky, Mary Chepiel, the famous young Polish driver. She's quite popular in Poland. Very talented young girl. And then Andrzej Skrzek, Jerzy Drabent who's just been overtaken by Adam Neumann. They're presumably fighting their fight in the Mini Cooper class. Behind them Adam Karkuševský, Damian Stachowiak, Pavel Namyslovský, Viktoria Roženek, Tomáš Urbanský, Lukáš Lewandowski, Antony Derebecký and Fabian Kivak, and behind them only the retired cars that have dropped out of contention so far, as we are now finishing the first third of the race. This is the touring cars having their fight. The Honda, the Audi. Artur Rovinsky in the Audi. And there is Dan Skalický in the R8 Audi. It's a usual mix of Audis in the race. The different drivers in the TCR, because we generally and usually have Aditis Racing's Bartosz Groszek and Radim Adamek, but because this championship round is actually not coinciding together, or let's say not joining together the GT and TCR fields, as is usual normally, we do not have Aditis Racing here this weekend. They did the Slovakia ring round earlier on in June when the Eastern European TCR visited Slovakia. But as was the case last year with the season finale in Most and Brno, this year it's 2 Slovakia ring rounds. The first of them for the TCR mostly, and that was the one that coincided together with the European Truck Racing Championship back then. And this is the Slovakian Grand Prix, where the ESET Cup Series' GT3 class is the main event. or is the main show for everyone in the grandstands. Jakub Klobasa, this is a fight in the GTC class. Jakub Klobasa driving really close behind Petr Brecka. When somebody's been off once again, we all, well, and there's a fight for the GTC lead, sorry for that. Jakub Klobasa did have a go on Petr Brecka, as we just saw dust in the distance. And as I was trying to look at that and just find who was there, and there is the Mechanik Motorsports Lambo that's off the track. So it is important, yes it is. That's Kurt Wagner, unbelievable. The championship leader in the GTC class, who needs a good result here, is now off the track. And if this car doesn't get going, then also out of the race. This is incredible bad luck for Mechanik Motorsport. They have enjoyed their 1-2 finish with Matěj Pavlíček and Joachim Galáš earlier on in the GTC class, in the GT Sprint, but this car is beached. If I wanted to be funny, I would say that in this heat everyone now sees themselves somewhere on a beach, but this is not the beach they would imagine and they would prefer. Kurt Wagner dropped it in the final corner just as his opponents in the GTC class were taking a fight for the race lead, just as Jakub Klobasa was trying to have a go on Petr Brecka, unsuccessfully then. And in the meantime, Kurt Wagner unfortunately made a mistake, went into the gravel trap in the final corner, and the gravel trap is showing everyone why it is actually called a trap. It doesn't want to let him go. So there's the R8 Audi that's been there since the first minutes of the race. That's Filip Salaguarda. Well, it's actually his car. Filip Salaguarda already away and gone. People wait in the pits for the car to be retrieved, but Kurt Wagner is out of this race now as well. Quite a high attrition rate so far, as we are approaching the 25th minute of the race, which is going to open the pit lane. There is car number 9 of Jakub Klobasa. Is he ahead of the Porsche of Petr Brecka? Yes, he is. He seems to be. And that means that Jakub Klobasa currently leading the GTC class. Great stuff from the Czech driver. He's going to hand over to Denis Vašek at the pit stop. And this is the race leader, Dan Skočdopola. So the Lambo is now being retrieved and it is out of the race. Very unfortunate turn of events for Mechanik Motorsport this afternoon / evening. There is Dan Skočdopola, completely unfazed by any of that. Ooh, he has a lockup of his own on the infield section in the tight left-hander. But away he goes. Everything's still fine in his world. And in his LMP3 Ligier. This is Lemma Racing's GT4 Mercedes. That's also already been off the track in the gravel trap around the final corner. You see that the car is still ooh, and there's someone out. There's one of the back markers. Is that the Fiat Seicento? Yeah. Pit window is of course now open, and we have got a yellow flag together with the red and yellow flag that tells you that there's something on the track, either debris or an oil spill or water. Simply the track surface is in some way not offering the grip you would expect. We have got the Seicento out of the race. I'm trying to get the car's number. That would be probably Fabian Kivak, the car number 71. Is it a safety car or not? So far not, because we see the green flag right beyond the point where the stranded car now is, and we have got cars entering the pit lane, among them Libor Milota, and if I'm not mistaken we also have Stefan Rossina entering the pit lane. Are we? No, Libor Milota, the live timing says he's in the pits, Piotr Vera's in the pits, also Jakub Klobasa, but also Amuno Pelete, Mary Chepiel, Adam Neumann and Adam Karkuszewski, and then further cars. This is Piotr Vera already back out, or his car, if he's sharing the duties with Dan Arrow currently. So the car number 14 back out on the track. There's the Lemma Racing's Mercedes, and there is one of the Hondas entering the pits as well. Nicolas Leutwiller in his 911 Porsche number 24. He's currently holding on to third in the GT3 class. So a great result for him so far. Dan Skalitski at the wheel of the R8 Audi in the Duck Racing's livery, not entering the pits. We really weren't sure up until the last moment. But it was just a little wider exit off the final corner. TCR fight cars number 29 and 114, is it? Yep. Amuno Pelete and Artur Rowiński. Nicolas Leutwiller entering the pits now in his Porsche, just as Olymp Racing's Ferrari 488 is back on the track. And so is Libor Milota in his AMG GT3 Mercedes. Right as we are approaching the halfway mark of the race, and we will start ticking down into the race finish. It takes a little bit to get your car back up to speed and up to temperatures. A little twitch from Libor Milota in the third corner. That heavy right-hander. Miro Konopka. He's been lapping the track a little faster than Dan Skocztopole lately. Skocztopole did 2:02.2 on the previous lap. Konopka did 2:01.5, so 7/10 chopped off, and the gap is reduced to 12.5 seconds. Still half of the race to go, plus the pit stops for the prototypes, which can also throw something into the mix. Let's see what that is. Even though you've got that mandatory limit, those 2 minutes that you have to spend in the pits, not moving, you still can make it, you know, right and make it wrong. So you can still win or lose seconds. And if it goes terribly wrong, then of course minutes and the entire race. But yeah, still you can make a difference. There is Milota, just as Stefan Rossina entered the pit lane finally. Also, Nicolas Leutwiller did the same. We saw that he's already out of the pits, but stuck behind a Mini, and he can't overtake it unless you get to the very end of the lane that re-enters you onto the track, because you've got to stay left of the white line. You can't just cross it and overtake the slower car in front of you. So that was unfortunate, and what's unfortunate is also this. That's Lemma Racing's AMG Mercedes in trouble once again. Maciej Kosic in problems. Car number 21 in the tight and twisty section in the middle sector. He's now made it back onto the track. Something's actually hanging off the car and dragging against the track surface. Hopefully that's not anything too dramatic, but that car has already taken some battering in this race. Dan Skocztopole is going to the pit lane. Another of the minis out on the track. And we have got the investigation of Jacek Zielonka overtaking under yellow flags for the Polish driver. GT Sports Technologies 911 is back out of the pits. Petr Brecka and Karel Neff swapping for one another. Also Dan Skalicki is back out in his R8 Audi, and so is now Jesse Krohn in the M4 BMW. So both of the leading prototypes are now there. We've got Dan Skocztopole in the pits, Miro Konopka as well, and he entered the pit lane 9.8 seconds behind, so he might just be catching up and closing the gap right down, or that may have been simply because they were entering the pits, and the pit lane speed limit may have played its role in this fact. Libor Milota, he's out of the pits already. We still have just over a minute before the pit window closes, and no one will be allowed to enter the pit lane anymore. Libor Milota, where is he? He's quite far down the order now. He's also behind Dan Skalicki. That's quite far away. He's behind the GTC Porsche of the GT Sports Technology team. He's also behind Jacek Zielonka and Nicolas Leutwiller. There must have been an issue for Libor Milota. He seems to be quite further down the order. Is he? And we're going to have to wait and see until the live timing updates itself. And there's the leading two prototypes. They are now leaving the pits right behind one another, so this has closed the gap right down. As I mentioned, even though everybody has got to spend the same amount of time in the pits, which is a mandatory time, you can still make it right, you can still make it wrong, and it seems that ARC Bratislava made their pit stop either in an illegal amount of time, but they are incredibly experienced, so I would assume that's not the case. Maybe they've simply made their work much better than the Breton team, and that would now put them back in the direct fight for the race victory. Skocztopole leading, but only just from Miro Konopka currently. There they are now separating, their gap being a mini. Drive-through penalty for Jacek Zielonka, car number 88, overtaking under the yellow flags. So, I was going to say bad luck for Jacek Zielonka, but bad behavior basically. This is something that you really need to be aware of and really pay attention to this. So probably a mistake on Jacek's side, and the Polish driver is going to have to serve a penalty. There is Antal Gigot in his M4 GT4 BMW. being now overtaken by both of the prototypes that are leading the race. Scotch Topole still ahead, but only just. Let's see what they've done now on the outlap, or past the outlap. Yeah, 4 minutes 11.9 for Scotch Topole, 4:03.4 for Miro Konopka, and there is your 8 seconds, 8.5 seconds that were chopped off the leader's gap, the leader's advantage. But what is the pace going to be right beyond that? Antal Gigot, driving this season in the Trevor Racing's M4, the GT4 version of it. And of what the season he's had, yes, on one hand, you do not actually have that many cars in the class, but still, it's not been entirely bad. He's been on the podium a couple of times, and when it comes to endurance races, he's actually second behind Zeno Kovac, who's not present in Slovakia. So this result is bound to move Antal Gigot way closer to Zeno Kovac and actually into the title contention, which is definitely good, whichever way you look at it. So the leading Ligiers are now pretty much on the same pace, 200.97 for Dan Scotch Topole, 200.93 for Miro Konopka. So he was faster than Scotch Topole, but only by a couple of hundredths of a second, not more than that. But there is a GT3 fight for you. That's Nicolas Leutwiller against Piotr Vera in the fight for P6 overall. They're both trailing, presumably Max Lamer. No, he's out of the pits now, so he must fall down the order still. And this is for the race victory. Look at that, overtaking back markers, navigating through traffic. There's also something that you really need to be good at. There's Jacek Zielonka in the way. Miro Konopka is now through, but it took him a little bit longer than he would have hoped. And yeah, he's still fighting for the race lead with Dan Scotch Topole. This is the GT3 fight I was talking about. Nicolas Leutwiller ahead of Piotr Vera. Vera having a go down the inside. I'm sorry, this might already be Dan Arau as his co-driver for the weekend. So the Good Speed Racing's Mercedes is now up and through. And the car number 24 falling down the order. So we can actually now go back to the fight for the race victory. There it is. Scotch Topole extended his lead, having now used some of the back markers to his advantage as the clock has just ticked over to the last third of the race here in Slovakia. On a scorchingly hot Slovakian afternoon. Yeah, there it is. There's Jesse Krohn taking a fight on that's the 825 Porsche. That's Max Lamer. He's a lap down, yeah. So Max Lamer, as the live timing got updated, he's now back in 9th place, while the Trevor Racing's BMW is leading the GT3 class. Ooh, a little bit of a twitch from Loïc Villers. Was a little more aggressive on the throttle than he should have been, and he had to correct it. The Merc flashing its headlights as it's now chopping its way through the field. There's the i30 Hyundai. Viktor Mraz sharing it together with Maťo Homola. Meanwhile, the gap between the first and second got extended, but now it's coming back down again on that previous lap. Scott Stoppelen was actually 1.3 seconds faster than Konopka, but on the latest lap, it seems as though it was the other way around, because the Ligiers are now back together. And look at that, how close Konopka now is. Really, this is already striking distance. It's probably the first time in this race that it's been this close. So as we're entering the last quarter of the race, it's now getting interesting, and now it's heating up. Temperature's going very slowly down, but the fight for the lead is actually getting hotter and hotter. And Miro Konopka already having a look. This is going to be very important now. Positioning of the car, and another problem, another mistake from Dan Skocdopole. He was a little too fast on the corner entry and then a little too wide on the corner exit, which again handed a performance advantage or speed advantage to Miro Konopka. Now it's not as much about the gap itself as it is about positioning of the car, making your turn-ins correctly, hitting all the braking spots as perfectly as you possibly can, and also being on the power and using the traction as good as you can. There they are, together. Live timing is now frozen a little bit. Didn't really get updated, only now 1.1 on the previous lap, and now it's bound to be even less than that. If these two cars had a DRS, it would now already be open, because I believe that these two cars are now under 1 second. Yeah, they are, they must be. Not even a second from one another. Striking distance, already slipstreaming behind one another, Miro Konopka, and they are now sailing past further back markers, yet more back markers coming up. 0.273, that was the gap between the two on the previous lap. Well, let's say as they crossed the line, Miro Konopka having a look down the inside, and there's contact between the two leading cars. Miro Konopka locked up into the right-hander. This is not something he wanted to do, but he's spinning his opponent around, and Dan Skocdopole is now having to perform a donut and basically get back to the correct direction. He's driving in the other direction as he should be, and he's now only now getting himself out of trouble. There was a contact, and this is now handing the race lead to Miro Konopka with quite a comfortable gap, and we've got the Lemma Racing's Merc off the track for the third time already this race, and it seems as though this time it might be terminal. Ooh, and there's a GT3 fight for you. Two Mercs fighting it out together in the first corner. So it's hotting up on multiple places around this track towards the end of the race now. It's the Goodspeed Racing's Mercedes against the GT2 Mercedes Motorsports Mercedes. also the tables have turned for number of crews as the drivers swapped one another, so their respective performances and performance levels now playing key roles in the development of the race, and we now have a different race leader. It's the local hero Miro Konopka. However, he will be under investigation. I'm pretty sure about that, because he locked up and he was the one on the inside hitting the car of Dan Skočtopole and spinning it around. So now the Lemma Racing's Merc is definitively out of the race. They're already being assisted and towed away from the gravel trap. So that's that for Lemma Racing for today. And look at this mix-up. We've got Libor Milota stuck behind some back markers, which is now giving chance for Dan Arrow to leave him behind. Jedlinsky replaced by Christian Kořeňovský. And there is a fight between the GT3s. It is now Kořeňovský against Jesse Krohn. This is not exactly for the class lead. It actually looks as though, yeah, the Olymp Racing's Ferrari is already a lap down on the Beamer. And so it actually is. But Kořeňovský showing really promising performance. So moving up the order anyway. There they are together. Jesse Krohn does not have to let the Olymp Racing's Ferrari through. And let's see the so far race deciding incident as Miro Konopka sent Dan Skočtopole into a spin. I still do not see any investigation into the incident, but we have got a disqualification for Jacek Zielonka. Car number 88 disqualified from the race as he's failed to notice the penalty that he'd been given for overtaking under the yellow flags. That means that Jacek Zielonka is out, even though he still might be driving around the track, and so he is. And we've also got 20-second penalties now handed for something that I've not seen in motorsport so far as a reason for giving a car a time penalty in a race, so much as usually for a fine, and that's wrong clothing for team personnel of cars number 29, 73, 23 and 121. Let me just try and discover what's behind that, or behind the cars. Number 29. That is Amuno Pelete. Car number 73, that is Adam Neumann. You then have cars number 23 and 121. 23, that is Damian Stachowiak. 121, that's Tomáš Urbanský. That's simply, I believe, breaching the race controls directive for all the team personnel to actually wear long trousers in the pit lane or on the grid. You can't be in shorts. I believe that's the reason. This is the ongoing fight. Krystian Korzeniowski and Jesse Kron. The Ferrari back together with the BMW. Got just under 8 minutes left in this race. And we have got another car off the track. Who is that? It seems like Duck Racing's R8 Audi, is it? Yeah, it looked like that. It looked like Dan Skalicki off the track somewhere. And that would have been on the infield section in the middle part of the track in the tight and twisty stuff. But actually, this one was the quicker left-hander past the left-hand side or left-hand drive hairpin. And there's your damage on the Ligier of Dan Skocz-Topole. You've got that aerodynamic element, sort of a mini diffuser behind the right rear tire where the car was hit by Miro Konopka, and he's dragging that little piece of bodywork on the track itself. That's the anti-wake aero device. There's another 20-second penalty. This time it's for car number 16, which would be Stoffe Rossina, and together with him also Jesse Kron. That's the Trevor Racing's BMW. Crossing the white line on the pit exit, but the car is now entangled in a hefty fight with Olymp Racing's Ferrari, and the Ferrari is now through. So on the exit of the first corner, Korzeniowski got ahead. Well, let's say in the first corner he got into the position, and then exiting that corner he got alongside the BMW and across the hill. As they went across the hill and also overtaking some back markers in the process, Krystian Korzeniowski went ahead, but he was actually a lap down on the BMW, so this is not a change of positions between the two. Still no investigation mentioned for the leading car for the incident. I believe some is actually ongoing. It might just be that the screen on my lap timing app is not really showing everything that I should be seeing. But either way, there must be investigation into that incident, because it definitely changed the course of events in this race and demoted the erstwhile race leader Dan Skocz-Topole to a distant second in an incident where he presumably did absolutely nothing wrong. It just looked like Miro Konopka simply locked the tyre and understeered into his opponent. And they still have quite a lot between them also since then, and maybe even because of the damage. Skocz-Topole has been lapping significantly slower on the previous lap, 2:03.9 for Konopka, 2:05.3 for Skocz-Topole, so way over a second slower than the race leader now, as we have less than 4 minutes left. We shall also have an extra lap at the end of the race, as is usual in 2023. Car number 16 will be called for scrutineering after the race. That's Trevor Racing's M4 BMW, the GT3 one. And there is your race leader, Miro Konopka, at the wheel of his LMP3 Ligier, and this is the other Ligier off the track, in the grass, on the grass. That is Dan Skocdopola. He's now bringing so much stones onto the track, but they flew away off the racing line. Skocdopola has been off, and really since the incident, it's gone pretty downhill for him. And I believe that he can't wait for the race to end. It's really gone south since then for him. And he'll be happy if he simply brings the car home now. And further issues, further problems in the first corner. Somebody at least locked up. And that's again a problem for the Ligier of Dan Skocdopola, which is now actually having a pretty aggressive puncture of the front left. Look, lots of pieces of bodywork flying off in the dying moments of the race. This is incredible bad luck for the qualifying victor and for the long-time race leader. Dan Skocdopola, his car falling to pieces. He will be forced to stop because it's still a long way around this track into the pits, and he will simply break all of it. So he's now retiring the car, heading straight ahead in the third corner. What a rotten bit of luck for Dan Skocdopola, the earlier race leader, and with a minute to go, he's actually, well, he cut the track completely. He completely skipped the inside part of the track. Of course, he's now just trying to bring it back home. He'll be retiring from the race. There is no way they can actually send this car back. A, look at that, look at the car, and B, there's not enough time. So all has now fallen apart. That is unbelievable luck. Unbelievable bad luck for the Breton team of Dan Skocdopola, the Czech driver, retiring in the last minutes, handing the victory to Miro Konopka, even if Miro Konopka gets penalized for their respective incident. Skocdopola will not make it to the finish. And that's absolutely terrible. This is why it's, even though it's a cliche, it's still valid. To finish first you need to finish. And until you cross the the finish line and drive under the checkered flag, it's not over. And anything can happen. But interestingly, the hit that he'd got came onto the right rear. But the puncture came on the front left. These two are 99% not related. Of course, by now the track will have been littered by at least the tire marbles, maybe even debris from other cars. And if there is a piece of carbon fiber, they're usually very sharp. And if you just drive over that, you can puncture your tire really easily. 0, 0, 0, 0. And we're waiting for Miro Konopka to come around across the line and onto the final one. Something flying off Miro Konopka's car. Last lap. Final lap of the race coming up now. Last 6 kilometers for the local hero, Miro Konopka. He is going to make it. Well, okay, let's not speak too soon. We've seen what happens. But he's only got less than 6 kilometers from home. He lost his only competitor in his class. There's no way for him, and actually no reason for him, to actually go all in and flat out. He's got enough of a gap in the race lead. He just needs to bring the car home. The car number 16 of Stoffi Rossina and Jesse Krohn leading the GT3 class and coming currently second overall. There's the Duck Racing's Audi. Oh, sorry, I was just now looking at a different shot. The Duck Racing's Audi of Dan Skalitski out of the race. Oh, and we've got Good Speed Racing's Mercedes in the gravel trap. We have got Good Speed Racing's Mercedes in the gravel trap in the final corner. That's only a racing driver's error, so the car is back on the track. Car that is third overall, second in the class. Late drama for the Polish crew. And they are now losing the fight to Libor Milota. This is incredible. So tables have turned in the dying moments of the GT3 race as well. We are now going to welcome Miro Konopka, who's going to score yet another home victory. Miro Konopka coming across the line and being victorious at Slovakia Ring. In front of the delighted home crowd, Miro Konopka is victorious. I'm still interested to see whether there's a penalty for him or not, but still, simply because his main competitor is out of the race, it should not mean anything. But this is the GT3 class leader. That's the BMW of Trevor Racing, of Gregor Žigo, which is today driven and shared by Stefan Rossina and Jesse Krohn, not by Gregor Žigo himself. And the car number 16 only one corner away from home. But there was an incredible fight for second in GT3. Let's see the BMW make it around. There's more stuff, more dust in the final corner. Somebody may have been off once again. There's the BMW, there's Trevor Racing on their home soil as well. So GT3 also won by local team, local driver Stefan Rossina, sharing the car together with Jesse Krohn. But what is happening in the fight for second? We saw a big fight across the line between the two AMG Mercedes cars. There is Good Speed Racing's Piotr Vera, who's sharing it together with Dan Arrow, but Libor Milota already up ahead because the Good Speed Racing's Merc was off the track heading onto the final lap, and he was immediately caught by Libor Milota. He's there, and Libor Milota is going to steal it away from his one of his main rivals. So Libor Milota making it around. This is Good Speed Racing's Merc. Let's jump a little ahead. Let's jump a little ahead to the finish line. Libor Milota is across the line to score the second place. There he is. Libor Milota, second in the race in the GT3 class. Of course, he's third overall. Piotr Vera with Dan Arrow coming home fourth overall, third in the class. So still podium, but of course, big disappointment at the end because they had it in their pocket, but then it just slipped away through the gravel trap. Nicolas Leutwiller coming home fifth and fourth in the class. Stanislav Jedlinski together with Christian Korzeniowski will take P6 overall from the pairing of Jakub Klobasa and Denis Vasek, who are scoring the GTC class victory and making a significant dent into the championship hopes of Michanek Motorsports, Kurt Wagner and Josef Zaruba, who dropped out of the race right before the pit stops after a driver's error. Unfortunate events for Michanek Motorsport, and this is throwing the championship fight wide open once again. Jacek Zielonka, P8, but he will get disqualified for failing to address that penalty, the drive-through penalty for overtaking under the yellow flags. Max Lamer in P9 overall, Petr Brecka coming home second in the GTC class, P10 overall, together with Karel Neff. Behind them, Adam Centner, Dan Skocztopole classified in 12th overall, but with his car falling to pieces 1 minute from home. and we'll still see if there is anything going to be done about that shortcut that he took. But even though, yeah, that race was simply going away from him at that moment. Behind him, Richard Vosic, Mariusz Nierichlevsky, Antal Žigo P15 and GT4 victory for him. Artur Rovinsky, Amuno Pelete, Viktor Mraz, Filip Zagorsky and Mary Chepiel completing the top 20. Behind them, Andrzej Skrzek, Przemysław Silsky, Adam Neumann, Adam Karkuszewski, Damian Stachowiak. I'm going to be reading for a while. It's a 38-strong field, so take your time. Dan Skalicky dropping out of contention actually, but classified in P26. Behind him, Lukáš Lewandowski, Viktor Jaroženek, Fabian Kivak, and then further cars that dropped out of the race. Quite a lot of them actually. Race of an incredible attrition. The GT4 AMG Mercedes of Lemma Racing also out. So was Pavel Namyslovsky, Jerzy Drabent, Tomáš Urbanský, Kurt Wagner with Pepa Záruba, who didn't even get into the car today. Antoni Derebecký, Petr Lisa also did not get in the car. It was retired by Tomáš Miniberger in the opening minutes. And of course, Filip Salaquada, the Endurance Championship leader, not making it further than a couple minutes into the race. This has been dramatic. This has been eventful. Of course, it's been incredibly hot. Still, the temperatures only dropped by 2 degrees Celsius, and you just see the sun going slowly away, and with it also the Saturday's program of the 2023 ESET Cup Series here in Slovakia. Tomorrow we'll be back with more action, but now it is a very warm goodbye.